Okay.
I can do that for you in just a minute.
We have confirmed 53 structures have been severely damaged. 120 more have fire damage. We know we have evacuated at least 100 people into the shelters.
Was severely damaged mean destroyed? Severely damaged, was that destroyed?
I don't have eyewitness account of that. I haven't been down to the bottom of the hill.
The area, it looks like there was a big parkland behind it.
No point in Bridgeton.
That's spread.
That's part of the Crestmore Canyon, which was on the east side of the explosion.
What would you say the acreage of the fire is?
Our estimate is about 10 acres in the canyon, which we have contained right now. We expected to do so. The winds hopefully will stay laid down, and the moisture in the air will be a benefit to us.
Did you ever see anything like this before?
No, and I don't want to again.
All right, you're looking at a live news conference being held out in the street there on the perimeter of the fire. That is Fire Chief Haig, who is explaining really kind of a laundry list of what's gone on this afternoon, including the destruction of 53 homes, at least 120 more damaged.
That's right. If you were just joining us, this is our continuing coverage. Breaking news that has been going on since 6:15 this evening of a massive explosion in San Bruno that set off a destructive and very deadly fire. There are 3 confirmed dead in this disaster now.
We understand at least 2 others have, 3 the total right now. Tonight, the California Office of Emergency Services says 53 homes have been completely destroyed, 120, as we mentioned, damaged to some extent. Less than an hour ago, PG&E confirmed that one of its gas lines ruptured in the area where the blast occurred. The utility company says that it would take accountability if it was found to be responsible for that explosion, but it cautioned that the cause of the blast has yet to be determined.
Now, neighbors in the area tell CBS 5 that they have been smelling gas for several days now. This all began, as I mentioned, at around 6:15 tonight. The first explosion was reported near Skyline Boulevard and San Bruno Avenue. Witnesses in the area say several blasts then followed. At least 27 people have been taken to Bay Area hospitals, but that number of injuries is, of course, expected to rise.
Okay, so the fire is inside a very specific area of San Bruno. General perimeter starting at Sneath Lane and looping around Claremont Drive and Glenview Drive. We heard the fire chief say there that the rupture was at the bottom of Glenview. We've also seen fire spread as far out as Vermont Way.
And Joe Vasquez joins us now, as he has all evening, from that devastated neighborhood. Joe, an update?
Dana, we're on a ridge overlooking the neighborhood, a neighborhood the folks out here refer to simply as the Valley. Flames are still shooting up here. It is subsided quite a bit since the last 5 hours, but still we're seeing a huge amount of activity. Fire trucks running through, PG&E, a lot of neighbors literally in the dark because they are without power right now, as they have been for the last 5 hours. And, you know, as you get closer to the epicenter, as you get closer to where that explosion happened, you start to hear the stories, you know, houses on fire, people having to escape. In fact, one man we talked to said that his father had to race out of the house. What he's talking about, this man told us his childhood home went down in flames. There was nothing left of it. His father barely escaped.
But Dad had to open up the garage door and drive the car through the flames to get out. The back of the car is melted. I mean, the tail lights are shrunken in. The bumpers all warped up. But number one thing, he's okay. That's everything else can be replaced.
He barely made it.
He barely made it. The car and the clothes on his back. I mean, you always think it can never happen to you, but it happened.
Those are the stories we want to hear. We are also hearing stories, though, late tonight that now that, you know, they're being able to contain the fire to some degree and the smoke has cleared to some degree and the heat has subsided and they've been able to secure some of the power lines, firefighters are now going door to door. And it's only been within the last hour or so that we've learned of fatalities, 3 so far, and they still haven't been able to get through some of those homes that are closer to the epicenter. Now, I want to show you some tape here. These are 2 men. They don't know each other. They're from different parts of the area. One man lives right here nearby, and he actually heard the explosion and ran down and shot some video. Another man, a freelance photographer. Take a listen.
I was working in my garage. All of a sudden, we're used to the airplanes up here, you know, but this, it sounded like a really low rumble. My radio went dead, and all of a sudden it was a boom, boom. I mean, it shook the house, the glass shook. I ran out the side of my garage, and I looked to my backyard. I could see the flames so tall. I really thought it was like 2 houses behind me. So I grabbed my video camera, took off running. As soon as I got to Greenwood, I could see these trees right here, and the flames maybe 200 feet taller on top of that.
Oh my God, it looked like a bomb had actually hit the ground. 2 or 3 blocks completely engulfed in flames. I'd never seen anything like this in my entire life. It was truly amazing.
How close did you get, and what did you feel?
I got within 100 yards, maybe a little bit more. What I felt was intense heat. The house I was standing next to, and you have a little bit of film of it, was literally, the paint was melting and bubbling on the wall as I was standing there. And I would have to back out, and every few minutes or so, a big fireball would jump up, literally over 100 feet out of the ground. And it would blow you back with all the smell and the sound. It was like thunder at times.
The first gentleman we heard there was Tim Gutierrez, and he joins us now live. And Tim, we wanted to bring you back because, you know, you not only experienced what you saw there, but you have told me that you've actually been smelling the scent of gas out here for some time.
Correct. That's been around a good 3 weeks now. It was just around last week and a half that PG&E was in my neighborhood telling me to shut my garage, shut the doors, and other neighbors that they were investigating the gas smell. A little bit later, they took off, and that was it. Down the street at that next stop sign, for the last 3 weeks, I've been smelling an odor of gas coming from the sewer.
Given that that's the case, and given that we know this was a gas line, what's going through your mind tonight?
What the hell PG&E's thinking of not correcting the problem? These poor innocent people, their houses, people just trying to be a family, get off of work, hard work day, and this is what happens. Chaos.
Tim Gutierrez, thank you again for joining us. We did want to bring that to you because Tim's not the only one. We talked to several people out here who said they have smelled gas out here in the area. Right now, as you heard at the news conference, the fire department says that's news to them. PG&E has not commented to us yet. It is still early. They're still working on getting power back together here. So we do not know if that is the connection yet. But, you know, that's simply, Dana, a very strong statement being made by neighbors tonight.
It certainly is, and it will be something that will be investigated over the next few days. Just to reiterate, though, PG&E, 4 hours after the explosion, did take responsibility and acknowledged accountability for this explosion, and we'll be hearing more about that in the coming days.
Yeah, we want to give you a sense of what it was like initially when this thing went off. We first are going to show you some video that was shot by a professional videographer who was at the scene within minutes. You can see little shards of, it's almost like concrete exploded there on the ground. Water coming down from a snorkel truck, and just the devastation really gives you a feeling of how intense this flame was when when that pipe ruptured and the explosion occurred. That's right on the corner of, I believe it's Claremont and Vermont right there.
Well, one of the eyewitnesses said what he experienced was when it blew the asphalt up into the air. And so that's what you're also seeing flying around. And it did then ignite these homes that were farther away from the explosion site. We've had many accounts of how this occurred, and surprisingly, people who could very calmly explain what they experienced, what they saw, what they smelled, and the danger that they felt. But it was so hot. We talked to San Bruno Fire Chief Haig early in the evening, and there was nothing that the fire department could do in terms of moving in toward these flames until the source of that gas explosion could be shut off. And it took well into the evening, till around 8 o'clock, until PG&E was able to get in there and shut it down. So the firefighters basically could work the perimeter and try to put out the flames in the houses that were ignited by the initial explosion.
Yeah, it appears the rupture occurred in an easement behind some homes, a PG&E easement, or utility companies use it. There was a mention that some water mains had also been damaged because of the explosion. So a lot of that stuff goes into the same trough. You have when homes are being built and areas being occupied, they'll run utilities across an easement. Now, here's some home video that was shot and sent to us. This is really early on in the fire, and you can see the initial blast and how much force, how that gas under pressure was coming out, the volatility of it. And we could hear it. It was a roar, like almost like a jet. In fact, some people thought an aircraft had crashed because of that jet explosion type sound, the shaking that they experienced, and the amount of fire that was coming off. There was some speculation that aviation fuel was burning. We really didn't know at this point what was going on.
No, but what we could see, because we had Chopper 5 in the air, was that the source of this fire was being fed continuously a fuel. And the shape and intensity of the fire, it started out large and it stayed large. It didn't really expand because it was constantly being fed this fuel. Interesting, you mentioned that many of the neighbors in the area that contacted us thought it was a plane, because this area is very close to San Francisco International.
Sure.
They're in the flight path of planes, and that is, I would think, always in the back of their minds, that that's the worst that can happen in that neighborhood.
I think you go with your senses. It was a big boom. We heard something that sounded like a jet. It shook the house, and then we heard the explosion. And yeah, I mean, that's the assumption, and rightly so. You go with your senses on that. We subsequently found out, though, that this was a high-pressure gas line that exploded, somehow ruptured, somehow ignited, and we're not sure the cause of it just yet. That'll be part of the investigation.
Right. Once things got to a certain point, the concern immediately turned to the people in those homes. This happened during the dinner hour. There was a football game on, and the concern was that there were people trapped in their homes. We have had reports of fatalities now. One fatality is confirmed by the coroner in San Mateo County, and we have 2 other reports of fatalities from another area. But there are also injuries. Hospitals set up triage, and many of the people were sent to various hospitals. And Sherry Hu right now is at St. Francis Hospital, where several of the burn victims were taken. Sherry, are you with us?
Yes, I am, Dana, and it's 4 victims to be exact there, and 3 of them, we're told, are in critical condition, one of them in stable condition tonight, and at least for now, St. Francis is not expecting to see any more patients arrive here, at least for this evening. Now, because this is a certified burn center, the most serious cases come here, and we are told that the patients brought here by ambulance tonight do all have significant burns. According to a spokeswoman, patients don't come here directly from the scene. They typically go to the closest hospital first, and then once their breathing is stable, they are transferred here. St. Francis has a full staff on board tonight. Some of the doctors even came in without being called. They were on their way home. They heard it on the radio. They saw it on television, and they just drove over here on their own. And tonight they are ready to go to work. There is still room now for more patients if the space is needed. This is hospital spokeswoman Abby Yant.
We've not received any indication that we will be overwhelmed at this point. We're very adequately staffed. We were able to move stabilized burn patients out of our burn unit to prepare to receive critical patients. Our burn surgeons are in the unit on standby. The whole team is ready to go. We have an excellent team of nurses that are all here ready to accept the patients.
As days go on with the burn,
the area, one in Santa Clara County, also one in Davis. So they've all been talking, coordinating throughout the evening to make sure that not one center is overwhelmed. So again, Dana, Ken, just to quickly recap, here at St. Francis in San Francisco, at least 4 patients have been brought here. 3 of them are in critical condition tonight, and the 4th one is stable.
Sherry Hu, thank you very much.
We had some numbers from some other hospitals in the area, too, earlier numbers.
That's right. Earlier in the evening, we haven't updated them, but I'll give them to you. From Kaiser Hospital, there were 15 burn victims that were sent there, and we expected that many would be then transferred to other hospitals. They may very well have gone on to St. Francis. San Francisco General had 2 victims considered critical condition, 2 burn victims. Seton Medical Center was the hospital that was the center of the triaging, and because it was the closest to the explosion site, and then the victims went out from there. So in total, I believe the number is 27